Natalya, welcome to Floor Talk. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here today.
Thank you. So now, Natalya, Knox is at the forefront of financial technology innovation. What are you building and how do you plan to impact the industry?
So Knox is a multi-asset transaction ledger that is providing secure movement of all regulated financial assets and money. And this might actually come as a surprise, but today when assets and money move around, there are a lot of ledgers and rails behind that ecosystem and behind the movement of all those assets, and that can be highly inefficient. There's too many systems. And so from our perspective, we're providing a ledger as a service, really where financial institutions can maintain their connections to and transact with all of their external accounts. So traditional cash accounts, custodial accounts, digital asset wallets, and then internally we provide them a real-time view of all of their assets and cash positions across their business. And the reason that's so important as a solution for industry is because today, financial institutions really struggle with things like reconciliation across all these different systems, or settlement risk or fraud. And there's general lack of interoperability and lack of real-time monitoring across their asset classes. And so, especially as financial institutions continue to grow and work across traditional assets and digital assets, that becomes even more complex. And so we really want to be the bridge between those two ecosystems.
Now, Natalya, what about your background has led you to become an expert in the space?
I've spent the last 10 years building a career at the intersection of traditional finance and digital assets with an expertise on future of money systems. So I worked on the capital markets desk at BlackRock and also led some of their initial work in the digital asset space. Also worked at companies like Google X and Cello, where I got to see how stablecoins and blockchain systems were contributing to money movement. And I'm a part of a few global initiatives that are really helping set the standards for these new technologies and policies. So one is I co-founded the Stanford Future of Digital Currency Initiative, which is a partnership between the United Nations and a bunch of global banks. And then I also sit on the Bretton Woods Committee, which is a committee of the top financial executives and CEOs that are working on helping maintain a disruptive and innovative financial system.
And what are some of the milestones that the business has seen, and what do you plan for 2025?
From our perspective, when you're building a high-performance ledger or infrastructure for regulated financial institutions, you need to make sure that your technology can withstand the high degree of checks and balances that are going to be required of you. So we spent our early years in R&D trying to build the best multi-asset ledger and working and piloting with some of the largest global banking institutions, and also received global awards for our technical approach, so including at the G20 and from the NSF and White House. And this year we've really been focused on commercialization within single institutions. So not just deploying our tech for banks, but really thinking about how can our technology be applied to fintechs or exchanges or even asset managers. And so our goal is really to continue to build on those partnerships as we head into next year with our launches. And then in addition to that, start to capitalize on the network effects that our technology offers. So then we can start to connect the different institutions that are actually leveraging Knox.
And Natalya, who do you think should be interested in using or partnering with Knox?
We're interested in working with financial institutions that work across asset classes, especially traditional assets and digital assets. The specific teams we'd be interested in working with are those that are responsible for the settlement and reconciliation for those businesses. And this can be across banks or, like I mentioned before, even fintechs, exchanges, custodians, asset managers. And I'll give you an example based on current events. So I'm sure we've all seen in the news, Stripe recently acquired Bridge, one of the largest fintech acquisitions that we've seen. And that acquisition is really telling that stablecoins, for example, are going to be a bigger part of financial institution businesses over the next decade. And so in this case, how Knox could be used is, you would say, Knox can actually help financial institutions plug in to their stablecoin ecosystem of choice. And then internally, we can provide them a real-time view of all of their cash and asset positions and their stablecoin positions, all in one place. And I think this is really building on what we're seeing, which is an industry trend in a rebundling of financial services. A lot of financial institutions are sitting there saying, hey, we want one system to do more things instead of 15 different systems to manage 15 different asset classes.
And finally, Natalya, tell me, what advice do you have for other founders who are just getting started in their journeys?
First off, I think you need to be obsessed with what you are building and really respect and enjoy the people that you're working with. Ideally, you're working with people that are much smarter than you. It really helps with maintaining a sense of level-headedness as you go through the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. Second, you have to be really thoughtful and intentional about who are you selling to depending on the phase of your business. Who you sell to in the first 3 months of your business is very different than 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And that first early customer is your most important because they pay you first. And so being really intentional about that is important. And I think lastly is just realizing that outcomes in your business are influenced by so many other variables that are out of your control. So if something doesn't go as planned, just pick up and move on quickly.
Well, that sounds like great advice, Natalya.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on Floor Talk today. It's been wonderful to talk with you.
You as well. Thanks so much.